Can you hear me?
I can now.
Okay.
Hallelujah.
Here we go. You
I
ready?
was like, what? I don't see you though. Where are you?
Hold on.
And I needed you to tell me is it's too much sun in my background.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, you look like a halo over there.
I do.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me see. I don't know what to do.
So I need the people to see all of your melanin glory.
I'm just saying I need them to see me too. Don't play. I think I'm gonna have to go in because
Now just turn around. Just turn around where you're facing the sun. There we
okay.
go. There we go. There we go.
Wait, don't start it. Have you started it?
Yeah.
I got a lot going on. Just give me a second.
This is the behind the scenes
Oh
of
my God! It's already started. This is how we do.
so look.
Golly, Apollo, that was a setup. Ain't no telling what our folk just heard from me.
Nah,
Okay.
you
Oh,
didn't say
okay,
nothing
that's
bad.
better.
You said you didn't say nothing bad at all. All right. Here we go. All right, y'all. This is episode 7. Hold on. Wait. Here we go. Episode 7 of the
Seven.
Conscious Disruptors podcast.
Yay.
Ironically, this is episode 7. We just celebrated, the Alpha just celebrated 115th year of that ice cold funkiness. Yeah,
Okay.
anyway, let me get on back to it. My name is Apollo Woods. I am the chair of Oklahoma Black Pack, and I have my co-host, Miss Auntie TT, also known as T. Woods, back in the building because she's been traveling. And I'm gonna tell y'all, look, she's been ignoring my phone calls, y'all, but we'll get to that here in just a
You
second.
know what? Don't even pay that no attention. Don't even.
I don't
That's the
appreciate
lie
all
he
this
says.
disrespect. Okay, I
That's
don't.
a lie.
All right. So, as always, we always start off with sharing something positive that's happened to us or something that even we've observed since
Mhm.
the last time we met. So, as always, because y'all know I'm a gentleman and a scholar. So
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna let Tanasha go first. Ladies first.
What's up, everybody? So, yes, I'm traveling, still traveling, and it's my pleasure to be on here today from my location. What's great that has happened to me over this past couple of weeks is knowledge. So, being around what we know is that we like to say all the time, be in the company of those who help elevate you, right?
Mhm.
You don't want to be surrounded by people who only think like you and agree to the things that you agree with.
Right.
They can help educate you on some things.
Mhm.
And I've had the pleasure and privilege of being around some people who just now we do share the same ideologies.
Okay.
However, they just bring some more knowledge. And that is what's happened to me over the last week. I can't. It's too much for me to give at this moment. But if you
Okay. Give
listen,
one.
let me
Give
finish.
one. Mm-mm. Gotta
Let
give
me
one.
finish. If
No.
you will pick up the Oklahoma City Herald, you will understand some of what I'm saying. The one that came out this past Friday, I wrote about some of what I'm talking about right now, having the opportunity to listen to one ambassador, Andrew Young,
Mm.
who will be turning 90 here pretty soon. And one of the things that when I talk about what's happened to me is knowledge, is that, you know what, y'all, we take for granted what we have still with us today. People who have experienced the road that we're going down, attempting to advocate for our communities in different ways and leverage them in different ways, we should be taking for granted in a different way all of
Yeah.
those jewels that they drop. So that's the goodness that happened for me over this last week, and I'm still relishing in it. That's what I got.
It's something about being around people that um, that have different perspectives,
Yeah.
and they want to bounce the energy off other people. They want to
Mhm.
learn. They want to understand. It's There's no intimidation or being threatened by someone else's accomplishments or whatever, because you're feeding off each other because you have a common interest. So I know exactly how you feel being in that
Yeah.
space, and
Yeah.
especially if you need your own cup filled. And it sounds
Right?
like You had
I'm
your cup
overflowing.
filled while you was down in ATL, Georgia.
Overflowing.
Right?
Ready to bring this goodness back to Oklahoma.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
So mine that I want to share is, and you're familiar with this. So I have been battling high blood pressure issues since 35.
Wow.
All of a sudden 35 came, and then of course, I'd have to take ownership on, I look back because you see Google and Facebook always give you a reminder of what you did before.
Okay, it's good
And
at that, right? If for nothing else, it's good at that.
it reminds you to pass. So so this time it's been reminding me of like me working out or where I was and doing things. But even when I was really on it, I still end up getting high blood pressure issues. So so the last few months have been challenging emotionally, and so I got this. My blood pressure been really high a lot more frequently. So I was afraid of a cardiac episode. So talked to a friend, and she was like, well, actually, Dr. Alicia Mack. She's a senior cardiologist here at Integris. Grew up with her and her family in Duncan, and she said, get a heart scan. Now, I had a sense of peace going into it, but always it's like, man, that's that possibility because my older sister had a stroke last year. She's been trying to recover from that. Uncle's had a stroke, so it's in our family. So I went and got a heart scan at Integris Monday morning. So you go in the thing, it's a little tube. You go in there, do the X-rays, and it says breathe. I'm not even nervous. I'm not nervous.
I mean, it's the one where you're laying down and you go in the. Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So you lay down. It does a heart scan, and I'm just sitting there. I'm praying. I'm like, hey, I'm good. I'm all right. And so then get done. Just like 5 minutes. The lady comes in. She's like, oh, you're done. And this is, I think they train people in the hospital to do this. She's like, well, this is. So her tone was like monotone.
Right.
I'm looking at it's probably the longest 30-second conversation I've ever had.
Look, all you waiting on is what you want to hear.
All I heard was, we can't really tell you if there really is an issue. All I heard was that. And after that was like, and then she said this is from 0 to 400. And I was like, and she was like, well, you have a 0. I was like, lady, you went all that to tell me I got a 0, which means I have no evidence of any calcium buildup in my heart, which means I'm not at risk of having a cardiac episode. However, I still found a PCP, going to get some blood work done. But I shared that story because it's good news, because having some relief for knowing that I don't have any signs of a cardiac episode. And here's the lesson. It's probably too early for this lesson. Here's the lesson that I learned from this. See, I was so worried about my blood pressure and the outcomes of having high blood pressure. And I was so worried about the tragic parts of it. But after getting this test and it said 0, I've been praying, been trying to do some things different, control my environment and stresses and all that kind of stuff, even when it's been hard. And even then still, my heart came back in good condition. So let me give y'all a little something. So what that means. Just imagine you think that something difficult is happening and there's a bad outcome. And so the memory verse today in my Bible app says, I'm gonna just read the short version of it. So this is Romans 5:2. We can rejoice too when we run into problems and trials, for we know that they help us develop endurance. So my heart, although my blood pressure has been high, my heart has still been in good condition. My heart is still healthy. So what's the lesson in that? Just because you're going through something difficult doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. It's just preparing you for something else.
That's right.
Hold on.
That's right.
I've never seen my heart before. This is what my heart look like. I had never seen that before. So I was excited about that. But anyway, enough of that belabored story. So that is my positive thing for that happened to me.
Oh, look at you doing everything.
Last 2 weeks. You know,
am I frozen? I'm frozen.
Yeah, you froze it. This would
I'm
look
frozen.
like. Hold
And I'm frozen looking ugly.
on. So, bringing it back to the screen.
I can't find it anymore. This is what happened when you don't do it in the right place.
Mm-hmm. So while she's having technical difficulties, now she done left. All right, y'all. So anyway, so that was something positive that happened to me with that, and then just a message. This is for men, speaking directly to men and especially Black men. So take care of your body, take care of your health, do all you can to take care of your nutrition. Don't be afraid to go to a primary care physician. If you have not identified one, you can go to clinics in the area, ask for blood tests and blood work to make sure that you are functioning. Prioritize your mental health and take care of yourself. You only have one body, y'all. So she's back. So you only have one body to take care of. And if you don't take care of the one body that you have, how can you be there for your family? How can you accomplish the big goals that you've been on this earth to do? So you got to take care of your body. You only got one.
Right.
All right. Okay. Now
get out there and do some of that stuff you don't want to do.
Exactly.
Let's work out. Put some more greens in your body.
You know what I'm saying?
Have a salad. You know what I'm saying?
Eat all these stuff. Reduce the amount of processed food intake. Because I tell you, after Thanksgiving, this is the time where a lot of eating happens. Holiday parties, Christmas parties, all that kind of good stuff. Oh,
eating and alcohol. We got to talk about that. Because those are calories.
Stop.
It's calories.
So there's a way you can reduce your calorie intake. Okay. First of all, we're not going to do that. So anyway.
Listen, he don't want to talk about it because he got plans. This is all that is, y'all. He just told on himself. He got plans.
Because we still have to celebrate your birthday.
I'm saying, look, y'all, he was out of town doing his thing during my birthday celebration. So we still haven't got around to it. It's all good.
You talking about control your alcohol intake.
Well, I do a good job of it. He calls me what do you say? I don't even drink. I'm a baby drinker, so
you're a baby. You baby pup in that game. All right, so let's get into the politics. What's going on in the world of politics? When you, while you were still in it, are you still in Atlanta?
I'm still in Atlanta.
Okay, so since you've been in Atlanta, we've had some good conversations about some observations from the conference you attended. So. Tell us about the conference that you attended and why did you attend and what was a takeaway that gave you that energy? Like, when I get back home, I'm going to bam. Like, what is that?
That's good. All right. The conference is National Black Caucus of State Legislators. And it's an annual conference, annual legislative conference held in a different state every year. And I am the chair of the African American Legislative Staff Coordinating Committee, which is an affiliate of NBCSL. Yeah, all of the acronyms, y'all. All the acronyms. Keep up. That's what I say. So with that, I attended because being chair of this wonderful organization, we are provided with, and at this point, I am provided with an opportunity to provide skill training, political awareness. Right now, redistricting is definitely the hot button across the United States. And this particular time, I constructed a panel which consisted of an executive director of Georgia's Legislative Black Caucus, our very own Senator George E. Young Sr., and Mr. Atiba Majun, we've had on as a guest on Oklahoma Black Pack podcast. I should say Conscious Disruptors podcast. Anyway, that panel was put together because with those dynamics, I wanted to have the individuals who came to that session to understand the dynamics from an executive director. Every state Black caucus does not have an executive director, and Oklahoma is one of them. Okay. Albeit I learned of that in 2017. And I understood the strategy, the method by which an executive director actually improves upon the workings of the inner workings of the Black caucus. So I've been pushing that, hoping that we can figure out a way to get that done in Oklahoma. All of these things are why I attend this conference. I met with several different legislators out of other states. I follow them also on LinkedIn and other places, social media places. So I'm able to know some of the things they're passing. And one particular legislator, Jeremy Gray out of Alabama, yeah, this is going to sound different, strange, but he passed a yoga law. So they had made it where it was outlawed for students to have yoga. I don't understand that. It's a level of exercise.
Okay.
So yoga. Why are we doing yoga? Because it's helping kids to not just stretch and become more agile, but it's a time, something you breathe, you're learning how to breathe. People have anger issues and all that stuff. So it helps contribute to all of those positive methods of handling anger issues or whatever you may be going through. So I was able to congratulate him. What else did you ask me? These are reasons why I attended. What my takeaway is this. When you have a group of people who are in the trenches attempting to help educate the community, and you know that you've got to make some moves in that community, making moves means have people running for particular seats, not just particular seats, but running for elected positions. You've got to stand on it, be firm. The whole group has to be behind the mission. And when this is it, y'all. When you know that you know a person is a viable candidate for a seat, and all of your everybody, all of your resources is behind this person, or if it could be a line of 3 or 4, all your resources behind those people, everybody has to stay the course. Those people win, you get them in this office, and you are able to contribute, not just sit at a table, not look in through the window at a table, but actually contribute to influencing and impacting legislation, whether it's city, county, state, whatever it is, school board. You have to be super intentional about running these people. My takeaway is that, Apollo, because it comes from an elder, couple of elders talked about, you remember when so-and-so ran? He ain't had no money. Now, this is a group of people that got behind this person and said, we support you. We know that you can get in here and do this. And they said yes. And that's another thing. The person really, they got to go and say, okay, I'm going to do this. But she kept saying, he didn't have any money, but they got this man in that seat. Now, how does that work? All I got from all those elders talking about how they did these things is that we've got work to do, and we've got to be more intentional about it. So if y'all don't hear my fired upness about this conference and the things that I know we can do in Oklahoma, it's a problem right now. So maybe I need to do something else.
Well, if you think about it, every time. So, and I realized this when I went to New Orleans, went to Houston, Denver, different places. Even we talked to people. The fight is the same.
Yeah.
I think oftentimes we might assume that because a city is more matured in terms of market, in terms of what the offerings in for that city, that because it's there's more of a Black population, denser Black population, that the issues are different. Issues are still the same because it's connected to policy. It's connected to the effects of segregation, the effects of legislation, the effects of not paying attention to the track record of those who are elected.
As being prologue, yes.
So it's almost like it's getting kicked down, but the can is being kicked down the road. But here's why going to conferences is important. You find other people to connect with that are fighting in the fight with you for equality and justice and access. You build those connections. So now your network is broader. So if I have a question about something and they may have done it well in different city, different state, now we're exchanging ideas. Everything is about relationships. So it's beautiful that we get a chance to go to conferences, and not just, y'all don't limit it to going to conferences. Think about just in where you live. is there a space that you have not penetrated that you need to be connected to?
Let's just describe that space. So I talk about duping situations all the time. So both you and I are very much affiliated with a Greek organization. That's one. That's a space though.
Yep.
But other professional organizations that possibly have dues as well. I'm also a member of Society of Human Resource Management. That's a due-paying organization. But when I tell you the goal that I receive from being a member of that organization, right, the access to information, yep, it's without I can't balk it. Pay my dues so that I can be a part of it. You know, it enhances me. So those spaces that Apollo talks about right now, it's broaden your scope.
Yep.
Think about it in a different way. Even if you became a member of a board like Boys and Girls Club or started a mentorship, something like that. The Boy Scouts of America are always looking for people to do things. Getting on board to try to utilize your influence or allow some others to influence you, because sometimes we need that push to even understand where we want to fall, where we fit in. That's it. Right. That's the reaction.
It's a race of information. I listened to I forgot what his name was now, but he made a comment. He said, I'm supposed to get more information to you. I need to know more information to you.
Right.
So if I know more, then I'm better equipped to handle things as they happen. So it's constantly learning, but especially when you're surrounded by people who've done the work.
Okay.
Right. And I'm not just talking about they're just figureheads, but these people who are doing the work,
right?
You can learn from them, and they can also learn from you. Here's what I'm learning in this phase of my life. There are a lot of things I haven't done that I aspire to do.
Right.
But if I walked into a space and I didn't feel confident in myself,
right?
People respond to energy.
They do.
So you walk into a space like you own it. Not ego. I mean, like you're walking in confident, like I'm supposed to be here. People respond different. And what I learned, and even those people who I strive to learn from, be like, let's say in development, let's say someone has developed an XYZ number of properties or the size of a property. I learned that they don't know everything.
Right.
They work with people who know more.
That's it.
And the more confident you are with working with people and saying as a leader, I'm not intimidated because you know more, but I want to be able to work with you because it's about the goal, right?
That's how leaders lead, though. Yeah. Leaders, the funny thing about out of both of my master degrees, my favorite one is my human resource management. In that, the course of me taking that, aspiring to get that and actually attaining it, we had a leadership class. And in this leadership class, it was so funny. You had the big whiteboard, and my professor at the time, he just started writing adjectives to describe what leaders are. By the time we all finished describing every word that a leader can hold, the whole entire whiteboard was covered. Yeah. What we tend to do as humans is focus on a few of those words and forget about the rest. The one thing that impacted me most about the definitions we were given to leader is follow. Nobody thinks that a leader follows, but a leader does. You hire people to help you gain the notoriety, the respect, the perspective, all of those different things, because you don't know it all. You need people you can't do everything in your business. You start off as an entrepreneur, and as soon as you get contracts coming in and people needing you to do different things, you say, oh my goodness, I need an assistant. Well, do you need an assistant to operate as you, or do you need an assistant to operate as them in these other areas that you don't really, that's not really your thing. That's not your 100%, but theirs is 100% in that area. So I love that you brought that up, because that is what we need to look at when we're talking about leaders. Even I'm saying this and I'm telling you what we know about people running for elected positions, right? Yeah. We know that there is a criteria. One of the criteria is that you don't have to have a degree, right? that criteria, to be quite honest, to me, we should change the criteria. But since we still have this criteria, understand why. They can still be a leader. The person can still be a leader, but they have to know how to hush and listen to the other ones who've done this work, and not be feel intimidated or feel like somebody's trying to take their spot, but realize that very well can happen, right? When you're not doing the work. But anyway, I could go on and on about what leaders are and what they contribute and how they contribute, but people need to really think about that. And one of the things I would always say to people when they would ask questions about me, I am a leader who is not afraid to follow as well. And that's indicative of my personality.
Important. I was looking up like some of the characteristics of what leadership looks like. And leaders they create vision, right?
Yes.
Because people will follow you when they have enough understanding of where they're going to go.
Right.
No one wants to. The idea of blind faith is applicable in some cases, but it's detrimental in cases where you're following somebody or you're trusting somebody so much that you don't have an idea of where you're going and you realize you're in a very bad place.
Right.
And I put it in context like this. No, let me not do that. I say it this way.
He did the pause right there. He had to shift, y'all.
Just because a person's been in a place for a long time doesn't mean they have vision. And just because someone is a successor of that person doesn't mean they have vision.
Sure.
When you have vision, people can see this is where we're going. If you're not sure where you're going, take a step back and say, what's the vision? What are we here to do?
Exactly.
In order for a successful leader to have a vision, that leader must also start with getting in the trenches and serving as well.
That's right.
The leader represents the example of the work that people don't want to do.
Right.
The leader represents that I am in here in the trenches too. I'm here to cast this vision.
That's right.
And I look at the ambiguity that happens in our state, and it begs the question, where are we going? What are we doing?
Right.
How are we getting there? And just because you have a title doesn't ordain you as the leader.
At all. Right?
Because if
people hide behind
people in the world are followers,
right,
there's a likelihood that we're following followers, not following leaders.
Come on and talk about it. I have to say, I watched this show last night on accident. Okay. And this was on accident purely for me because I was crying. This show, it was a documentary about a man who's 70 years old, Apollo. And you may have heard of him. I feel like his last name I'm going to get wrong, but his first name is Kenneth. And I feel like the last name is Hamilton. Okay. At any rate, he was 70 years old with a heart condition, and his life alert went off. And I forget what state. Anyway, let's just say wherever. Okay. And the police come to this man's door. 3 police officers. Let's describe the dynamics of the police officers. You have a sergeant, I think that's the leader, and then you have 2 of the other people. Okay. But the sergeant is calm, kind of, but very inquisitive, very curious. Okay. One of the other persons are, he's very emotionally sound. He's like, okay, the man has said he's all right, we can go. The other guy is looking for trouble. Okay. That's the only way I can describe it. So they stand at this man's door, beat at his door. Outcome is such that the man never wants them to come in. He slides his ID out, don't want to. Life alert is talking the whole entire time. The officers are not paying attention to the life alert. The officers are what I described, the sergeant as calm, kind of, but very curious. Yeah. He's upset and thinking there's somebody in there. The man has PTSD. He was a former Marine. He has some issues. So this officer decides there's somebody in there. He's hiding something. There's illegal drugs. All of these things. Why am I talking about this? Because this stuff impacts us. Those are our leaders. They're a form of leaders, right? And if all you can do when you come to a 70-year-old man's door is continue to torment that man, and ultimately the other guy that was looking for trouble, called him out of his name, all those things. Family tried to step in and help them to get the guy to calm, he wasn't even upset, just open the door. They didn't want to allow that. Y'all, those are leaders. And it impacted me so when I said I was crying because, this ended up in a man dying.
Wow.
70 years old with a heart condition. And I tell you that I'm fine. It was an accident that this went off. Those types of things, I don't know that this has ever happened in Oklahoma, but prevention. Training is important. But you also, what y'all don't know about me is back in the day when I first got my first master's.
Yeah, weren't you a probation officer or something?
No, but I did work in juvenile detention. Yeah, I did do that in Oklahoma. But I was training to be. I was
a cop.
Listen, I was going to be. When I got my first master's in criminal justice, I was going to be a police officer, believe it or not. So I was going through that whole situation. And if whoever's ever done this before, the process, you go for your test, they do a psychological, you do a, what is that? The PT test, all of that stuff. I got down to the PT test and I was ready. But I came home one day and I looked at my son and I thought I may not never come home again. And I gave that up. And that's a crazy thought, right? But because that could happen anyway. But the point is that the psychologicals, the trainings, the different things like that officers go through, these are leaders in our community. They are our neighbors. And we should respect one another enough to know doing when there's too much. It was too aggressive. It was harmful. And in the end, the one that was looking for trouble shot this man. And nobody was convicted of this crime. That's horrible.
And this is
an actual documentary, so I'm gonna have to find the name of it so I can make sure y'all get it. Y'all can look at it.
And every one of us, whether you have a title or not, it comes down the legendary Jay Prince.
Okay.
For Rap a Lot, Fifth Ward. He said it comes out. Everybody has a chance and a choice.
Yeah.
No, he said, yeah, everybody has, I think he said chance and a choice. You have a choice. Right. No, he said chance, he said consequences is the word. Everybody has a choice and consequences. What you choose is going to determine your consequence.
Right? Well, that's true.
So if you're choosing to engage in something that's going to make it worse, there's a consequence for that. Right. It's like whatever you sow, you're going to reap it. You always going to reap more than what you sowed, later than what you sowed. It's always going to happen that way wherever you sow.
Right.
So even being a follower, and the word follower has this connotation that you're just not valuable.
Right.
When you're a servant.
This is untrue. Yes. Right.
So when you're serving, you're learning the skill to become a better servant,
right,
which puts you in position to be a manager or a leader of some kind, because we're all leaders in some point of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
So with that, you don't have to be in a titled position to be impactful.
Right.
I listened to even the great Toby Nwigwe.
Okay.
And he talked about leading. He said
that fire.
Right. So he said he wants to make an impact.
Mm-hmm. He's doing that.
Whether leading or following is what you're doing, making an impact.
Right. And because is it a positive one?
Even if it's negative, the impact that you're going to make has a longer impression than just saying I'm a leader. Are you making an impact in your contribution? So let's talk about voting. So now, I don't know if you read the news here lately. So we have another candidate who is running against Oklahoma City Mayor Holt for mayor.
I saw that.
And listen, I'm just only going to repeat what the article said.
Please do, because it's quite interesting.
And this is what the article said. The article title says, it is talking about Carol Hefner, who announced to run for Oklahoma City mayor. Now, this is what a blogger or a famous blog site titled it as: Crazy Carol Hefner announces OKC mayoral run.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes on to talk about how deranged, now here's a quote, and I quote, as we first discussed last week, Crazy Carol Hefner, the deranged alt-right socialite who hates all liberals and Muslims, DMs people out of the clear blue to promote petroleum and has a weird obsession with imitation Olive Garden salad dressings, officially announced her candidacy for OKC mayor earlier today. Now,
I must have cracked up when I saw that about this salad dressing. I'm like, what is up with this salad dressing?
here's an example of impact. That title has now started to circulate on Google.
Yep.
Other writers are picking up that article and
Yep.
referencing the author of the article and now repeating that message.
Yep.
I don't know enough about Carol Hefner to call her crazy.
Right.
But what I do know is that when we speak words, they catch fire. So you have a woman who runs for mayor. It's not easy to run for an elected position at all. I'm not endorsing anybody.
Right.
But it's just interesting that people quickly pick up on things that they want to make fun of. But when it comes down to the vote itself, how are you voting? Because we know
now. Are you getting to know the person?
What's the ally? Can we talk about ally?
Come on, talk about it. I can't stand that word.
Okay.
And it should mean so much greater to me, but I can't stand it.
Come on, Auntie TT. Why do you not like the word ally?
All right. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. I'm a Black woman out here in these streets. When I think about allies, are always people who do not look like me. This is the way it comes to me all the time. I'm not saying Black people can't be allies. Let's be clear. But when white people say Caucasian, however you want it to be related, I'm an ally. This is what I think about. You have a choice. Look, you have a chance. You have a choice, and your consequence is likely not like mine. All right. I don't like the fact that if I'm standing on the line and that person who says they're an ally says they've done too much, they've done all they can do, they have an opportunity to turn around, but I don't. So are you really an ally? And a person that considers themselves an ally to me goes the whole gamut. You never giving up. You're never, I don't care. And people can think about it in the worst way, like, there's some type of physical harm. No, I'm talking about even if your name becomes something like, in an article and people are coming for you like that, that's nothing, but they're not coming to your front door. They're not interrupting you getting to work or any of that, but your name is out there associated with me. Stand with me. How many times do we see people turning the corner? They make a U-turn because they can't take the heat, but my heat remains. That, my people, is why ally make me mad. Okay.
So when you look at the synonyms for the word ally, you have accessory, accomplice, co-agitator, collaborator, partner, friend, associate. A verb as the definition of ally is combine, marry, couple, merge, join, pool, fuse, etc.
Not divorce.
Not divorce. So if you're truly an ally, you are involved and you are affected by the impact or the consequence of the sacrifice.
That's right.
So as an ally, you don't get to choose.
Right.
So as my friend, if I did something, because Tanasha is my friend, someone I value, if I did something and my actions caused her harm, she's affected by my harm because she, by definition, is my ally.
Right.
If I'm not affected, if there's not a if I don't lose something in that relationship, I'm not truly an ally. So if we're saying that we're fighting for equality, social justice, and making our city and state better, then everybody that says they are in allegiance with me or us feels the impact of that consequence.
Some type of way. And it don't have to, I want to reiterate, for those who look at this now or later, whatever, it doesn't have to be such a harsh consequence or effect that a person receives. But just knowing when you lay down at night, your thought patterns change. Your friends and family may ask, why are you standing with this group? Or why are you standing for that law?
Right.
Be able to confidently present why you are. And that goes to earlier you said walking into a room and being, I don't know if you use the word confident, but I wanted to say this. I always tell my mentees, command what you want.
Hey, take it
When
by the
you walk
horns.
when you walk into a room, there is a position that you take. And if you are unsure about what that room is going to give to you, and this is including with the allyship, listen, if you're wanting to be a part of something that you're really unsure about, once you gain definition, whatever, listen, I'm certain that most would respect you greater if you say, I thought it was something else. I'm really not going to be able to sign on. Don't fake the funk. Don't get in and then swim on out. Don't do that. That's that part that I'm talking about. But anyway, commanding the room. When you walk in, people feel that energy. They understand that you are confident in yourself, your abilities, and what you bring to this space.
Right.
They don't have to know you're unsure about what the space is going to give to you. So command what yourself.
So now that we're going into December, so December is typically the time frame in which our elected officials at the state level submit their bills, right?
Yeah.
So there's a deadline for the bills, which I believe is Friday, right?
The 10th, yes.
So the 10th is Friday. So, and here's what we've been saying every time we have an episode. You connecting and having a relationship with your elected official and communicating allows them to create an agenda for their district who they represent. Right. So if you are influencing, you want to have an impact and influence that legislation because, and I frankly will say this, you do have elected officials who say they are for Black-owned businesses, who say they are for health, who say they are for improving the health of a community and access. Mm-hmm. They say that, but look at their legislation. Look what they propose. And this is not just this targeted conversation to electeds who look like us, who are Black.
It's across the board.
Everybody, it's across the board because you might live in a district where your elected, that you elected, whether voted or not, is now representing you. So now we have December 10th as a deadline. So explain to the people what happens now, December 10th, what happens after that as we get ready for the 58th second half of the
58th legislature. Right. Okay, so essentially at this point right now, everybody is submitting legislation, which I want to add on to what Apollo just said a little. Knowing the member, if the member has filed legislation over the last few sessions, the same piece of legislation, please follow and understand why they are doing that. Mm-hmm. All right. Call and ask them what they're trying to obtain. They run legislation over and over to eventually get it passed. And that's the way it works. You got to keep working it. At any rate, now we are submitting legislation, which could be, we want to do something with agriculture. Mm-hmm. Whatever the main goal of that particular bill is submitted to our legislative staff attorneys. Okay. And they create the bill, right? Okay. During this time, language with the bill is being created by them. They send it back to the member. The member makes sure that the bill reads contextually what they are trying to get passed. Okay. After the 10th, it's another deadline for complete language. Okay. So January 12th, but I don't know if I had it right now. Anyway, but it's in January that it's another deadline for all language to have been submitted. Once all language is done, your bill is public. It has a number and it's on the register as one of the bills for this next session, which starts the first Monday in February. Okay. So that's how it goes. So if you're just like, oh, Senator, I would like to do something with each
corner of Northeast 36. I don't know. Okay. And whatever your reason is, if they say, yes, that's a great idea, then they submit that information with the research that's been done behind the bill. It's been done in other states, other cities, the outcomes, those types of things. You submit all those things to the legislative staff. Okay. They then you hear me say then. Anyway, they then do a statute search to make sure that we are falling within, either we need to make a new statute or a statute already exists. They create the language, send it back, make the senator make sure, or even the House member make sure it reads the way they want it to read, and then we have a bill.
So I'm gonna use this quick scenario because we got about 10 minutes left.
Okay.
And I want to share and I'm gonna bring some recognition to my classmate Robert Ruiz over at the Scissortail Community Development Corporation, the CDC, representing the Southside community and the Hispanic community all over the metro area. Mm-hmm. I know that Robert and people associated with Robert and things he's connected to, Robert does a great job. Just speaking directly about him, Robert does a great job of advocating and connecting, galvanizing members of his community to then be vocal and present at the Capitol and in front of electeds, Republican, Democrat, whatever the case may be. Here, and this is year round.
Is he a lobbyist?
I wouldn't say he's a lobbyist. I would say he's more someone like us who cares and wants to be in front of people, influence legislation. And I'm glad you made that comment, because you don't have to be a lobbyist to impact the direction that impacts your community. So here's announcements that have been made coming out of them being present and active year round. The Mexican consulate office is likely going to move to the south side from Arkansas to the South OKC, right? What does that mean for them? The Mexican consulate office moves from another state, because much of the work in that office, a lot of the work has been impacted in Oklahoma. So it's moving to the south side of Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
And that's one. A lot of impact in that. So in the heart of, I think, Southwest 25th, there's a plan to build up that community. Now think about it. This wasn't just 1 year. These are years, multiple years of conversations to get there.
Yeah.
And then this was posted 16 hours ago. Now, after meeting with Governor Kevin Stitt, people have their opinions, but this is why working across lines is important. And I respect Senator George Young for his constant effort to walk across lines to make things happen for his district. Right. This is what my classmate Robert Ruiz posted yesterday. We had our first meeting with Governor Kevin Stitt as a part of his new Hispanic Initiatives Council. These initiatives will go to create even more opportunities to impact within the Hispanic community.
Now, I appreciate it.
Here's why I respect him for that. I love Robert. Robert's helped me with initiatives with OKC Black Keystone, etc. Because Robert is an example for me of, you have to work with people to get what you want for your community. So people have their opinions about the governor. I get we're coming off Julie Jones, etc. He's the governor, right? It's the seat that has the influence and the power. So what have we asked for and commanded and galvanized for as Black people in this state? And that's a language that we've heard often, but has our solidarity created the impact that says, we want this. If we get this, great. If we don't get this for the betterment of our community, here's the consequence of your choice.
So the way you gave those words, what have we asked for? And then the last one was galvanized. I forget the middle one. And I think that the way that the sequence, what have we galvanized ourselves around to create? Look, we need this, to show somebody why we need whatever it is that we need. And then asked, because once you have our group says, we're solid. We show solidarity in this. we've come together and said this is how it will work for us, and shown how it works to improve our communities, our economy, or whatever it is, and then go make the ask. What have we done in that sequence?
Yep.
And I'm sure somebody looking later might say, well, we've done this, this, and this. What would be lovely is the things that you're saying about Robert Ruiz. Also, the fact that the Hispanic caucus was built this year. They actually launched this year. So all of those things go hand in hand for that particular community. And I congratulate them for all of that. We can look at that and say, we have done this work. So if we've done this work, all we need to do is create that synergy, right? So if we have all these things in place, then those people who are leading those particular initiatives,
right,
y'all just call it. Oklahoma Black Pack is here for that.
Right.
We're here. We could be the cornerstone for all of the meetings, right?
Right.
We could, Senator Young is always ready to do something.
Yeah.
We could go to the Black Caucus and ask them to be.
Shout out to Memphis.
I'm sorry?
Shout out to Memphis.
I'm just saying.
Look, Senator Young fully embraces his Memphis roots, and I love it.
He does. But, loving the people that you serve. And that's one of the things, when I say I was heartbroken about that documentary, I'm heartbroken so many different times because of the things that we have to watch. We don't have to, but we do. We watch one another experience horribly, and it's trauma based completely all around. So we can come together with those initiatives that have been put together, and I know there are a few.
Yeah,
get behind them.
And to me, we have to stop sitting on the obstacle,
right?
When you look at movies and armed forces and boot camps and all that stuff, it says an obstacle, and the goal is to get over the obstacle.
Right.
But if you don't believe you can get over the obstacle wins. So looking at it from a place of, wait, if this group over here is able to get something, if this group over here gets something too, what are we getting out of that? Maps?
What are we doing to get out of it, right?
Right. Are we getting this private grant money to fund programs? Or are we able to show, listen, here's an obstacle for us. Job growth has not increased. Support for small businesses has not increased. There's a wave of support for Black-owned business during COVID has declined. And the billions of dollars that were committed to Black-owned businesses, not even 30% of that has been collected and accounted for. So we say we have not received this. What's the thing we rally around? And what's the consequence that can create it if we don't get what we want? And that also means holding electeds that look like us, not just elected in municipality, county, and state, but those who are elected in civic positions of influence that represent us too. Those people also need to be held accountable as well.
And you're emphasizing, a lot of times we emphasize electeds, but those who are self-imposed, right? I mean, we have people who are around in our city leading different initiatives, and we don't necessarily. I've seen some things that's been presented that I wouldn't have ever gotten behind. I would have had questions, right? And so those types of things need to be brought to a head as well when you're talking about accountability. And people need to, constructive criticism is what they teach you early in life. You need to learn how to accept it. So that's what I got on it.
Yep. All right, y'all. So we got 3 minutes left, and we're going to end on Auntie TT's moment before I get to the segue music. Just want to say, if you all would please follow us on social media. That is OKBPAC, Oklahoma Black Pack, on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and visit our website to subscribe at oklahomablackpack.com, and also make a donation. We're looking for donations and volunteers to continue doing this work. We are committed to showing up on this podcast every 2 weeks to talk about things that may be uncomfortable, but we're here to make an impact in what and our mission and vision is, which we are standing on 3 pillars in regards to healthcare, business enterprise, and public strategies that benefit Black communities all across this state. So continue to support us, and hope you will follow us and share this video as you see it. And so now we got Auntie TT's moment. Y'all ready
Listen.
for the music? Pick up.
Is anybody else amazed that he always remembers that look? You know,
why is it the shoulders? I don't even know where the shoulders come from. It's like the drum line and the shoulders. I don't look.
I'm amazed every single time.
Black people, we make everything cool. So I don't care what y'all say, make everything
You got
cool.
that right.
So go and take a side with your moment.
I don't have a quote for y'all today, but I want to tell you about a little conversation with my little grandma. I call her my little baby. Ain't that funny, my grandma? But today I had a conversation with her, and she called me back. She said, I was thinking about something. And she said to what we were talking about previously, and she said, Tanasha, we all have an assignment. I said, Grandma, it was meant for you to come back with this word. Because I said, Grandma, there's this thing that's going on right now with all the younger people on social media. I understood the assignment. Right? That crap. If we understand our assignment, whether we're leading, whether we think we're leading, whether we are in that servant, that following position where people often think that it's not important, it is so important. Listen, find out if this is where your heart beats firmly, stay in it, focus, understand your assignment. That's what I got today from my grandma, my little granny.
Right. No, I love it, and that's a powerful word, because when you understand what your assignment is, you're not easily swayed to do things that ain't got nothing to do with you. It'll work itself out when they got nothing to do with you. But anyway, y'all, thank you for tuning in for episode 7. Until we meet again, be safe, be purposeful, be intentional, and please support us at OklahomaBlackPack.com and on social media. Until next time, we will see you in 2 weeks. This is the year almost up for episode 8.
All right, y'all. Peace.